Hey guys, I'm Chris, welcome to Teletalk, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the 100, more specifically the Season 2 finale which just aired the other day. Now I'll hopefully be doing a more general talk about the 100 as a whole later that will be spoiler free, but for now I'm just going to focus on the season finale. So a quick warning in advance, this will contain spoilers. I'm going to assume that you've seen the season finale and probably the rest of season 2 as well, so that's just a quick heads up in advance. Now I'm just going to talk about the episode as a whole and my personal thoughts on it, as well as what I think might be happening for some of the characters looking forward to season 3. Now the episode starts essentially after the biggest dick move of all time, Lex's betrayal of Clark. Now after all the time and effort put into establishing the alliance between the Grounders and the Ark, Lexa strikes a deal with the Mountain Men that gets all of her people free, and she pulls her army out, just leaving the Ark completely on their own. This was something that I definitely didn't see coming, especially after Clark and Lexa's kiss. Lexa seemed to be completely loyal to Clark, and I never thought that they should just stab her in the back like that. But this really plays upon the key theme of the season and the show as a whole, which kind of seems to be, what are you willing to do in order to survive or to ensure the survival of your people? Now, this is a key theme throughout the entire season, particularly in the second half, and the writers of the show really play strongly on this theme by forcing the characters to make some tough decisions that clearly have some really bad effects on them and that they clearly don't want to make. More examples of the show pushing this theme throughout the season would be Finn at the start, when he was willing to do literally anything to make sure that Clark was alive, which resulted in him slaughtering several innocent villagers. Then after Finn had been captured by the Grounders, there was Clark, where she killed him to save him torture at the hands of the Grounders. Now this particular action might not focus so strongly on survival necessarily, but it does show what Clark's willing to do to protect the ones that she loves, which does kind of tie in with this theme. More examples of the show playing in this theme, particularly in the finale, were, as I've already mentioned, Lexa's betrayal of Clark, where she was willing to stab Clark in the back, a person that she obviously cared really deeply for, in order to make sure that her people survive, which is a tough choice for her, but one that she obviously feels she has to make because she has a duty to her people and she feels that she's ultimately responsible for them. Then later on there's Clark shooting Dante, who's Cage's father, to try and show Cage that she's not going to back down and that she is getting her people out the mountain no matter what it takes. Now this was really obviously a choice that Clark definitely didn't want to make, but she feels she has no choice because she has to protect all the people that she's responsible for that Cage is holding in the mountain. Now I actually really liked Dante. I thought he was a good guy because he clearly didn't want the extractions of the blood marrow of the 44 to happen, and the only reason they ended up helping his son was when Clark and Lexa, in his mind, forced his hand by marching on the mountain, which left him no choice because he had to protect his people and he had a responsibility for all the people inside the mountain, which further plays on this main theme. And of course there's Cage refusing to let Clark's people go even when she threatens to kill his father, which just shows how much he's willing to sacrifice for the sake of his people and trying to get them back onto the ground, which is a dream that they've all had for 97 years. Then of course comes the big hitter. When all else fails, it's clear to both Clark and Bellamy that the only way to save all their people is to irradiate the whole of level 5, which is where the Mountain Men are all being holed up. Because they don't have the army anymore to take on the Mountain Men, so they have to find another way to get their people out. And by making this choice, it kills all of them, every single Mountain Man, even those that opposed Cage and helped the 44, and all the children as well that were locked in level 5. Now Clark clearly didn't want to make any of these choices, and she obviously hates having to make them. And this is made especially clear at the end of the episode, and you can see that having to make these choices has broken her. In order to save her people, she's essentially had to sacrifice herself. I mean, she isn't the same person that stepped out the dropship at the start of season 1, or even the same person that escaped Mount Weather at the start of season 2, and she's never going to be that person again. What she's done is going to haunt her forever, and she knows it. But it makes for a really powerful message, as it shows what people are willing to sacrifice to save those that they love. So all in all, personally, I thought that the season finale was a really, really good episode, and it's definitely one of the better episodes that the show has had. I definitely feel season 2 in general has been a big step up from season 1, especially in the second half, and even just in the last quarter, I really started to get into it. In my mind, it just started to get really, really good at that final stretch, and I am really looking forward to season 3 now, because after that finale, I am really excited to see what happens next. So looking forward to season 3, I'm actually really quite curious to see what happens with Clark now that she's gone off on her own and left Camp Jaha. I mean, I personally think that she might try and find the capital of the Grounders Alliance, because she quoted Lexa's last words to her, to Bellamy, when she left, which was, I think, "May we meet again?" which I think might imply that she's going to go off and look for Lexa, maybe seeking some kind of retribution for her betrayal. And because Lexa said to Clark that she should come to the capital with her after the fight when they were at the mountain, I'm thinking maybe Clark thinks that she can find Lexa there. Now, I definitely think that Bellamy is going to take up a much more prominent position at Camp Jaha after what he did to try and get his people out of Mount Weather. He's shown himself to be a hero from the 44 inside the mountain, and a true leader. And I reckon he's probably going to take up Clark's position now that she's gone. I look forward to seeing where that goes, because they do have very different methods of leading, as we've seen many times throughout Season 1. So I'm interested to see the effect that him leading could have on the camp. Now, Octavia and Lincoln are probably going to be staying at Camp Jaha. They can't return to Lexa because Lincoln broke the truce with the Mountain Moon by returning to the mountain after it was agreed that none of her people would go back there. And Octavia had a slight falling out with Indra, and it's pretty clear that she's no longer welcome with the Grounders. So it'll be interesting to see where things go for them. I'm thinking they'll probably take up some sort of position within the military force at the camp, but we'll have to see. The really interesting thing though is what's happening with Jaha and Murphy. Now, Murphy seems to have found some sort of safe haven under this strange lighthouse, and it has power and plenty of supplies and luxuries. And he also found a video, which was quite interesting, of a man confessing to her getting the launch codes and starting it before he shoots himself. And I'll explain what I think of that in just a minute. But first I want to talk about Jaha, as I think what he finds ties in quite a lot with what Murphy's found. He seems to have stumbled across a big mansion protected by an army of flying drones and some strange hollow lady who says that she's been expecting him and thanks him for bringing down the nuke from the Ark, which she's clearly somehow managed to get her hands on, and I've got no idea how. Probably the drones. Now I'm thinking that this hollow lady might just be the she that the guy in the video was talking about, and that the launch codes are most likely for nuclear weapons. And I'm going to assume that what she started was the nuclear war that wiped out almost all human life on Earth. Now she seems to be some sort of AI, possibly created by the guy in the video, which would explain why he shoots himself, because he clearly blames himself for what happens, as she was maybe his creation. I'm also quite interested to see who he might have been. I kind of want them to maybe go into that and we kind of find out who he is, because he had launch codes for nukes, it looks like, which means he must have been important. So I'm just kind of curious to see who he is. I think it might be a bit interesting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes, as it kind of seems to be hinting the idea that this hollow lady is going to try and use the nuke that Jaha brought. But I'm not really sure what for, because one nuke, although it could do devastating damage, it isn't going to wipe out everyone. So I'm really not quite sure what her plan is. But it definitely spells out trouble for everyone at Camp Jaha. But we're just going to have to see where this goes. So anyway, those are just some of my ideas for what's going to happen in Season 3 and my personal opinion on the Season 2 finale. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.